So that's what you can expect in the papers tomorrow. But let's talk about something that's playing out in the education sector. It's all to do with NAT and KUPPET, who have issued a strike notice to the Teachers Service Commission, joining forces to demand the immediate resolution of 6 key issues causing unrest among teachers' union members. That strike is set to commence on the 26th of this month. That's next week, Monday. Hence the urgency of addressing these issues. Mind you, they have a dispute with their employer, and NAT had a chance to meet with the Labour CS last week, who assured the union that the ministry is seized of the matter, giving a 1-week timeline. We'll be interrogating if there's any progress since. What exactly is the government saying? Is there hope to avert a crisis in the education sector? I'm joined by 2 Secretary Generals, esteemed individuals in the teachers' unions. First of all, Collins Oyu, the Secretary General at the Kenya National Union of Teachers. Karibu sana, and thank you for making time.
Asante sana.
Equally joined by Akelo Misori, the Secretary General at the Kenya Union of Post-Primary Education Teachers, KUPPET. Akelo, karibu sana.
Hello, viewers.
It's good to see you smiling, even though it's tough times for the teachers. Perhaps let's begin with Oyu just briefly, because we definitely heard of that meeting with Labour CS Alfred Mutua last week. He gave a timeline of 1 week in terms of ironing out the grievances that you had raised. Has that meeting with the Labour Ministry bore any fruits as we speak? Is the strike still on?
Thank you, Jesse. I think it is true that we met the Labour CS last week. One, it was a courtesy call.
Okay.
And then 2, we went to register a dispute with Teacher Service Commission, the employer. So it is very normal and natural that when we have a new CS, and more so in the labor sector, where we actually operate, we have to say, Karibu. So we went in and said, Karibu. Well, we had chance also to deliberate on a few issues that, of course, are out in the air. And the Labour CS promised that he was going to take 1 week and come back to us, tell us exactly what he's done, and he assured us that all shall be well. I want to plainly say it here that even as he promised the 1 week, tomorrow is Tuesday. We met him on Tuesday last week, on the 13th of August. So we are patient. Let's listen to him tomorrow. I hope he's going to revert back to us.
Okay.
Yes.
So it's still waiting. Let's give a benefit of doubt.
Yeah.
Let's equally include Misori in this conversation. One of the bone of contention in terms of the 6 key issues teachers' unions want addressed happens to be the CBA implementation, where the TSC and the union representatives in August last year signed an agreement to amend the 2021-2025 CBA to include a salary increment of up to 9.5% spread over 2 years. The second implementation, the phase 2, was supposed to be paid in July 2024. So talk to us about this, why you're saying if it's not now, we're downing our tools. Bearing in mind, because Kenyans have seen this, the TSC's recurrent budget was slashed by 10.2 billion Kenya shillings, with 10 billion rather being for implementation of the CBA in terms of the second phase. Where will the money come from?
First, let me just say that a CBA is not something that you can just rubbish.
Okay.
And then you allow anybody who is cutting the budgets to cut, because it is consensual. It was a consent which is agreed among the parties. In fact, this one was an addendum. It was an addendum because the 2021-2025 CBA did not have. In fact, we were abused that we had given teachers a maternity CBA. So this one here also did not even just come out of the blues. We were up in arms against the austerity measures which were occasioned by serious issues like the Finance Bill 2023. And therefore, we cornered His Excellency the President in State House, and he did indicate to us that he is going to think about it. is going to ask the Teacher Service Commission to expand. It was basically to cushion teachers. Now, if this aspect of cushioning teachers is what can be taken away, is what the parliament can cut in their budget cuts, then it means that nobody cares about teachers in this country. So let them face the music on 26th. It is facing the music. It is not whether it is still on or not.
Okay.
Let them face the music, because we did not force it down the throat of anybody. It was consensual.
Interesting. Uyo, as you come in on the CBA still, I'd like you to answer this. Has the government given any indications of reinstating the allocation to enable the implementation of the CBA second phase?
So far, no. And that is why we are serious about the industrial action. And one thing I would wish to remind you about is that this thing was registered in a court of law. And you know much as I do that Kenya is a law-abiding country. Teachers are law-abiding citizens. So whenever anything gets into law, we are happy that it is within us. If we registered a CBA in the Employment and Labor Relations Court, and it became a legal document, now turning your back and saying that you not honor this is, I think it will meet the wrath of teachers and even the leaders as ourselves. Where do you want to place us when we signed a CBA for 2 phases? And whenever you sign a single phase, that one means that the second phase is already in the payslip. Teachers are budgeted. What are you going to tell them? They get to the bank and there's nothing. I don't think it is even sincere to talk about it as, we look at Teacher Service Commission running away from what we signed. I signed, my national chairman signed, the CEO Teacher Service Commission signed, the chairman Teacher Service Commission signed. It is not our duty now to look for this money. We all signed. The Teacher Service Commission give us money. The teachers are waiting. And I want to tell you the preparation outside here.
Yes.
You don't believe it. Some of us don't even go to their houses, early. They know where we live. They know where Kelo lives. And we are in the center of Nairobi. They visit us. And we don't want them to come and, greet us. You know what greeting means in this case.
Definitely.
Yes.
Okay, that's interesting. And Kelo, among top concerns, apart from the CBA, is the confirmation and employment terms of JSS teachers. Kupet has been abreast on this particular issue, and it's a pending matter despite numerous discussions and promises from the respective government agencies. How important is a clear employment term for JSS teachers? Are there any tangible progress so far in terms of the promises being made? Are they following up on it?
Correct.
Okay.
That is also a bone of contention, as you rightfully put it. And in fact, we are not going to use any gloves to touch the government. We are just going to use bare knuckles. And it is true that with the looming crisis in the education sector, it has been occasioned by the serious bad labor practice that the Teacher Service Commission engaged. First, they have been advised by the Labor and Employment Court that they don't have the mandate to employ interns. They have made our profession be a laughingstock by engaging 46,000 of them without proper contracts. That you are staying in Kisumu, staying in Eldoret, staying in Mombasa, Nairobi, you are being paid 17,000. That is including rent, including even your health, and so on. And then you must reach school in time. If a teacher is teaching in the neighborhood of Kilaleso Primary School, in the name of a junior school teacher,
Yes.
Which neighborhood can accommodate such teacher? Which neighborhood? So you think we can still sympathize with this TEC? It is not something which is going to be as simple as usual. We have been downgraded, and the person who has downgraded us is none other than Teacher Service Commission. Those ones ought to have received their letters yesterday, not even awaiting 26th. Then they must also give others, because the situation in our schools is terrible. The situation is terrible because we don't have sufficient number of teachers. And yet, these are the cohort of teachers who are at the very core of transition to senior school. If you underpay them, then it means you don't respect the learners they teach. They were also irregularly given a responsibility, because you take four of them, humanity teachers, to teach all the 9 or 12 learning areas in the new curriculum. A complete travesty. In fact, what is happening is a disaster in education. And the person who has made this one possible is the Teacher Service Commission.
Interesting. As you come in, or you talk to us about the confirmation of all current intern teachers to permanent and pensionable terms.
First and foremost, the manner in which these teachers were engaged was wrong in the first place.
The JSS teachers?
Yes, okay. And Teacher Service Commission knows too well. Go to this legal document, which is a code of regulation for teachers. Regulation 87 is very clear about employment of teachers. You can only employ teachers as permanent and pensionable or on contract. The idea of employing teachers as interns is nowhere in the code. And remember, this is a legal document.
Indeed.
In fact, I challenged Teacher Service Commission Director, Legal Affairs, and asked him, if you read this code, what is it that you have to issue letters to teachers and say that they are interns? That in the first place was wrong. So when we say that this number should be converted to permanent and pensionable terms,
yes,
this ought to have come as early as possible, because the engagement was in itself against the law. And I think that was the only opening that these young men and women had when they went to court. We are interns. Do you have the term intern in the teaching profession? No, because the teacher you are referring to as an intern is trained and qualified just like any other teacher who also came from college. Then why do you degrade the teacher and say you don't belong to this category? You are an intern. You know the definition of an intern. You are still in the process of training, and then you get back again to qualify and start your work in the profession. But in this case, these are professionally trained teachers, very qualified, and should be employed just like other teachers. The idea of discrimination here came out very openly. You see, you are in one staff room, you are an intern, yet you trained just like the other person. Why are you an intern? Why is he P and P? And the worst part of it, the worst part of it, and I want to repeat this, even the employment, the way they were being employed is really different. One is from college, 2023, and employed almost the same year. You get? One came from college in 2011, is intern, yet one who came from college several years, just a few years, is permanent and pensionable. And this even led to mental torture among some of these young men. Your wife is permanent and pensionable, came from college 10 years. After you came from college, you are an intern. Do you think there's life in that family? Nothing. So we are saying, and we're not mincing any word, these teachers should be employed on permanent and pensionable terms. And it is not fresh employment now, just conversion. Convert them to P and P. In fact, they've suffered enough, to be frank. They have suffered enough. I'm happy my brother Kela has mentioned what they earn. If a house in Nairobi is 10,000, the cheapest, And this teacher earns, 17,000. Moves from one place to another, paying fare, and has a family. Because, just as I told you, they are not employed immediately from college. Some of them, 10 years outside here. Then they have families.
Indeed.
How do you take care of such a family? The earlier, the better. And we are pushing Teacher Service Commission. Yes, you did a mistake to refer to them as interns. Now, confirm them. Confirm them as PNP. Period.
And still on that, has there been progress in remitting the salary arrears concerning the intern teachers?
Not yet.
Not yet.
Not yet. And nobody talks about it. Nobody talks about it.
So perhaps the feeling of bad blood from the TSC, they might not have good intentions so far. But Akelo, I have to ask you, what are the bare irreducible minimums? Because in times of negotiations, some parties concede. It might be the government conceding to your demands. It might be you conceding to some of the government's issues that they raise in terms of, the cost of living, whatnot. Okay.
Yes, that is negotiation.
Yeah.
But you are fielding questions here. We are not negotiation. We are not negotiating anything. Who has called us and has given us this and you have refused?
So nothing has been offered so far?
There is no offer. These people are very insensitive. Yes, the most difficult one is where somebody has been given a responsibility to work as a principal of a school from 2014, and you are working in a difficult environment. According to our 2016 CBA, those who are principals of schools were supposed to transit to new grades by 2017. This one has not happened. And especially with our colleagues who are working in the northern ASAL regions.
Okay.
You are having a school of 1,800. You are in job group C4 or C5. Somebody is having a school of 400 elsewhere and is having D4 or D3. We have seen the worst employer in ages, and that is Teacher Service Commission. So what are you talking about reducible minimum? 139,000 teachers were not promoted in the last dispensation. They only promoted 36,000 teachers from nursery to high school. So we have got a backlog of people who have stagnated in their job groups, going to 130 plus. So can you reduce that one to if you were given 20,000 you take? They just give you that one 30,000 and you take.
Simple.
But if they don't give you, let the children stay at home. So that is why we have. But other things which are coming in which are very serious.
Okay.
Very serious. You find medical cover. Medical cover for teachers has been abused. And the last one is now by the infamous budget cuts. Instead of giving the Teacher Service Commission 22 billion to cover the teachers' medical cover, they have been given 11 billion. That means that the teachers' medical cover is compromised. Their health is compromised.
Quite so.
So how can we have what we call reducible minimum? You give the teachers their health, then we can talk. You give them their CBA, we can talk. You promote 130,000 of them, we can talk.
Okay.
You employ 46,000, we can talk.
Interesting. Or you?
Yes.
What will you be expecting from the Labour CS as you have a conversation with him tomorrow?
Yeah,
because you've definitely listed your issues. What do you expect from the government now?
Now, the government should come out strongly to avert the industrial action.
Okay.
And it is clear, just as my brother has said, the 6 key issues. We have actually walked along mentioning about 4 of them. If the CS tells us, I've spoken to Teachers Service Commission, the employer, we are ready And Teachers Service Commission shall, and I want to use the word shall implement the second phase of the CBA. The number two.
Do you want timelines in terms of the implementation as well?
It should be as immediate as yesterday.
Okay.
Because we are not telling TSC where to get money. And I'm happy the CS really mentioned that as a CSS, they wouldn't wish to see what is looming.
True.
So they must come to table and address this issue as soon as immediate.
Okay.
Then the issue of the medical cover that my brother has also mentioned, you know, this cover, from what has been appropriated, the benefits of the teacher has been reduced by 50%. And to make matters worse, you know, it is a 3-year contract. The 3rd year contract begins on 1st of December this year. If they've not remitted this and they've reduced this, it is like adding insult to injury. As we speak now, facilities have stopped treating teachers, the service providers. There's nothing. And I had a big quarrel with the Minute today, asking them what is happening in Bomet. One of the best hospitals in Bomet, teachers were being turned away today. And I said this one has to be sorted out. If they were in contract, fine. We are pushing Teachers Service Commission. We are insisting that this thing teachers must be treated. So on top of that, I think, Akelo, the other issue that we should not forget to mention is about the non-remittance of third-party deductions. We are talking about TSC. Look at all this. A teacher, just like any other person, has a loan from a bank. The teacher repays the loan. Do you know we have reports of banks asking teachers of arrears of 3 months ago, not yet paid? Not yet paid. All right. The question is, where do you want to take this teacher? What property has a teacher so that a bank can come and auction? Nothing. So we are saying immediately, let us remit the third-party deductions as required.
Okay.
And TSC should not keep on cheating teachers. The employer that we have right now, and that is why we are up guns blazing.
As we finalize, yes.
We must correct the mess in Teachers Service Commission so that teachers can be taken care of by the employer. All that we have mentioned here is not cheating. Cheating, and when you're a teacher and you're cheated, you just remember examinations in class. You become so mad about cheating.
Definitely, cat and mouse games are not encouraged. As we finalize, Misori, because give us a message to not just the union members, to the parents, the learners who are listening right now with bated breath, anticipating if they'll be going back to school next week. Briefly.
Let me just say it is unfortunate that we have been drawn to this level. And I hope this one does not reach Monday. That is my hope. But in an event that it reaches Monday, I'm asking the parents, the public to be ready not to see any teacher in any school in Kenya. So that is the message that is there.
It's as simple as that.
We will not be going about the bush.
Okay. Yeah. For you, final message.
Final message. I want the Ministry of Labour, Ministry of Education, and the Employer Teacher Service Commission to take note of what His Excellency the President gave an advice on. He directed Teacher Service Commission and the Ministry of Labour and the Ministry of Education to take charge immediately. And one other thing that he mentioned is that we don't want to go back to what had been agreed upon so that we have our learners out of school. Okay. And we accepted that as you know, that was a very good pointer. So let Teachers Service Commission and the Ministry of Labour, Ministry of Education come up very fast, or else it will be too late. And as Askelo said, it will be so unfortunate because we are also parents.
Indeed.
And our teachers need service from Teachers Service Commission. And that is why it is known as TSC.
The name speaks for itself.
Speaks for itself.
Simple. Gentlemen, thank you so much for your time. We definitely hope this looming crisis will be nipped at the bud, as the CS Labour said, so we avert a crisis even before it begins. Collins Oyu, the Secretary General, Kenya National Union of Teachers, thank you so much for joining us. Equally joined by Akelo Misori, the Secretary General at the Kenya Union of Post-Primary Education Teachers, KUPPET. So that's what you have right now in terms of the 6 issues that need to be addressed. The ball is in the court of the respective ministries, Education and Labour, and equally the employer, the Teacher Service Commission, to canvass these issues and give tangible solutions. My name is Jesse Rogers. Our sign language interpreter tonight is Meresha Owiti. Good evening.